Hey everybody, welcome back. Pastor Ro here, and I have a message that I want to share with you, and it's simply this: God's power is still working.
I think I came to preach today. That wasn't that funny.
I don't know who that's for, but I need you to put that down in the comment section. God's power is still working. And it's found in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. And here's what it says: the Lord has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And the reason that I'm titling this God's power is still working is because the Apostle Paul is writing this to Timothy to encourage him when he feels like he's being overwhelmed, when he feels like he's discouraged. Well, here's what the Apostle Paul wants to remind him. He wants to let him know, Timothy, guess what? God has given you a spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Now, here's what happens. When we hear things like this, like, man, I got a spirit of power, what's going on? Here's what oftentimes we think is the translation of that. We think that when God says that he has given us a spirit of power, we see it as we're taking ground, we're moving forward, we're walking in this victory that seems evident or is clearly evident because we are progressing and moving forward. Well, Paul says this to Timothy during a time where Timothy is dealing with persecution. In many ways, he feels like he's taking steps back. And I did a little research and I did a little investigation, a little bit of studying. And what I realized that in the context that Paul is writing this to Timothy, he's actually letting Timothy know that he has a unique power. Now, here's the unique power that he possesses. It's the power, not necessarily to gain ground, but it's the power to not lose the ground that he's already gained. So can you imagine that? Timothy is in a place where he feels stuck and stagnant. And here's what the Apostle Paul is telling him. It's not that you have this explosive power to progress. He's saying, hey, Timothy, I need you to hear me. You have a power to maintain and stand firm. This is what I want to share with you today, that oftentimes we feel like because we're not gaining ground, oftentimes we feel like because we're not moving forward, that God's power is not working on the inside of you. Can I remind you today that God's power is still working? Can I encourage you today and let you know that God's power is still working? You might feel like you're defeated. You might feel like you need to give up. You might feel like you're not moving forward. You might feel stale, stagnant, and stuck. But can I remind you today that God's power is still working? Let me give you an example. In 2012, we experienced a hurricane in Staten Island, New York, Hurricane Sandy. Now, Hurricane Sandy came and it did what hurricanes do, and it decimated our city. But here's what you need to understand, that though we did not overcome the hurricane didn't overcome us.
Hey, Pastor O here. Really quickly, I want to take a moment just to hit the pause button and tell you about 3 ways you can connect and support this ministry. It's only going to take 30 seconds of your time, and then you'll be able to go back to watching the rest of this video. And here's the first one. If you need prayer, give us an opportunity to pray for you. Visit prayforme.kuhau.com and submit your prayer requests. Number 2, we have merchandise you can purchase and different ways that you can donate and support this content. It's all found in the description, so make sure you go and check it out. Number 3, if you're looking for a church community, visit us at kuhau.com/new and tell us where you're from so that we can plug you into our church family. Okay, let's get back to this video.
We are still standing and we're moving forward. And this is what I want to tell you, that maybe you don't feel like you have overcome the divorce. Maybe you feel like you haven't overcome the anger issue. But can I tell you today, the fact that the divorce hasn't overcome you is evidence that God's power is still working on the inside of you. The fact that the anger issue that you're dealing with hasn't overcome you is evidence that God's power is still working on the inside of you. The fact you went through a heartbreak, and just because you feel like you didn't overcome the heartbreak, just because you feel like you weren't at the better of the exchange of the heartbreak, doesn't mean that God's power is not working on the inside of you. Sometimes God's power doesn't look like gaining ground. Sometimes God's power looks like not losing the ground that you've already gained. God has not given you a spirit of fear. He's giving you a spirit of power. A power what? Maybe not to gain ground. Maybe for the next 6 months, God is not giving you a power to gain ground and move forward and conquer. But maybe He is giving you a power to not be overcome, to not lose the ground that you've already gained through Him. So you might look at your life right now and feel like you've been stuck. Say, Lord, where is your power? How come it doesn't feel like I'm growing? How come it doesn't feel like I'm moving forward? Can I talk to you, Timothy, for a second? God didn't give you a spirit of fear. He gave you a spirit of a power that says you can stand firm. Even though you might feel stuck, the fact that you're still standing is evidence that God's power is working on the inside of you. Listen, I pray that you receive that today. I really had that in my heart for somebody today. And before we go, I want to encourage you for you to just, if you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe. If you aren't, make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you share this with someone. Every time you share this with someone, it allows someone to encounter and experience God's love. I believe that that's my mission, to share God's love with the world. So again, thank you for tuning in. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. We just hit 100,000 subscribers. We are going for 200,000, and we are doing this together, reaching one person at a time, bringing them back home to God's love. I'll see you soon. God bless.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you'd like to watch more like it, be sure to subscribe so that you won't miss anything we release. You can also hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified as soon as we do so. And if you'd like to watch our live stream service every Sunday, all the information is in the description below. God bless you. See you soon.